Hey everybody, Jeannie Andreessen here. Thank you for joining me on my untraditional time of a live video. As I think most of you know, Jacob and I are selling our condo here in downtown Chicago. And when you have a place on the market and showings happen, you do whatever you can to rearrange your schedule to get out of that home so you're able to show it. So that is what today is consisted of. Hey, everybody, let me know where you're joining from. As you're hopping on, let me know where you're joining from, where you're located. That would be awesome. So today we're talking about how to release control in your design business and what you can and cannot, what you do and do not have control over. That is what we're going to be talking about today. If you're new to me, I'm happy to see you here. I'm Jeannie Andreessen, and I am a business coach to interior designers. I really focus on helping designers build the boundaries, the processes, and really the money mindset necessary to help them stand in their space and achieve the profits that they deserve in their business. So, as I mentioned, today we're talking about releasing control. Why did I choose this as today's topic? Honestly, a couple of reasons. One main one is that I was asked to talk about this. I send out a survey to my email list every 6 months to say, how am I doing and what do you want me to go live on? And this was one of the responses is how can I release control? Because I'm driving myself crazy. I also wanted to go live on this because I see it every day as I work with designers. I see it every day as I work with designers and I'm coaching them through what they have control over and helping them let go of what they do not have control over. And I really believe that when you get clarity in these two things, you are able to show up so much stronger in your business and in your life. And so that's why we are going to be talking about this today, because I want you to avoid all of the unnecessary stress that you might be putting on you by not being able to let go of the things you don't have control over. So there are many areas in which you will see this even throughout your life. I'm not yet a mom, I don't have kids, but I feel like if there's anything that I've learned from people who do have kids, especially as I talk to, people that are my parents' age, that as they see their kids get older, they have less and less control of who their kid is and has become. And that can often be very challenging for parents. They had one vision in mind of what they thought that their kid was going to be and who they were going to be, and their kid is very different than that. And it's when they are, hold space for who they really thought the kid was going to be, and they're holding that way too high, is when it really creates so much frustration in their lives. And it creates a division between them and their kid. And I'm not here to do like coaching or therapy for parents right now. But I do think that that's a common example to be able to just point out that we all have visions in mind for how things are going to go, and then they just don't exactly go that way. I can also relate. I shared with you that my condo is on the market right now. Every single thing that's in my control, I have accomplished. It is priced to sell, probably underpriced to be honest at this point, but it's priced to sell. It's staged beautifully. The location can't be beat. There's so much about this condo that I know is an absolute win for the future buyer. But we're really not in a great market right now for condos in downtown Chicago. Unfortunately, we are not, because so many people now work from home. They don't need they need a larger space, and they also don't need to be walking distance to the business mecca that exists just a couple blocks away. I bought this condo when I was 30 years old and single and in the corporate world. And I loved the idea that I could walk to work every single day. Well, life has shifted a little bit. I now work from home. Jacob partially works from home. And that alone means we don't need to be in that location or this location. And space might be nice right about now. But there's just so much I have control over. I cannot control the market that we're in. I cannot control what other people are pricing their condos at. I cannot control the fact that interest rates are as high as they are. I can't control any of those things. And so it's when I slip into fearing that and worrying about that and focusing on that and stressing about that is actually when I am shifting into an energy that is no longer serving me and in any part of my life. And so I want to offer that as another example to you that this happens, it happens. But the more you can focus on what you can control over and be really clear about what you can control over and what you have control over and what you do not have control over, the better off you're going to be. Here's one more actual quick example with the sale of my condo. I have decided that if I don't get an offer in the next couple of days, I'm going to put it up for sale and for rent. Do you see how that alone provides more options and allows me to take a little bit more control? Still can't control who comes my way, but I can control getting somebody in here sooner rather than later by presenting more options. And that allows me to feel that much more empowered regarding the sale of this condo. I might come back to this example because I actually think that it's going to be helpful as I talk through kind of what I'm going to be talking through today. So here's something that is unfortunate. I want to say unfortunate for you. So what's so wonderful about you and the work that you do is that you are a perfectionist by nature. If you're anything like my clients and my best friend, you are an absolute perfectionist by nature. And the wonderful thing about that is you are in the right industry if you are a perfectionist by nature, because you want everything to be absolutely beautiful. Now, what's unfortunate about that is if you're a perfectionist by nature, you likely are also a little bit of a control freak by nature. They go hand in hand. You like everything to be perfect means that you want to control everything being perfect. And that is a really stressful way to live your life. It's a very stressful way to run your business because here is the other part about being in this industry. There is so much you do not have control over. There is so much you do not have control over. So much that it actually pains me to deliver that to you, to be able to say that to you. It really makes me sad to say that. But it's true. You can do absolutely every single thing right in your business. Everything. And there are still many hands in the pot that could overlook something, could be a little absent-minded that day. There are acts of God that make life very challenging for you. And because of that, for that reason, that much more, you've got to learn how to relinquish control and not stress yourself out so much for the things that are not in your control. Every single thing you can do right, and there's still going to be some absent-minded person who puts the fabric on backwards. And the wrong fabric is going to be coming, it might be the right fabric, the wrong side of it. That happened to a client of mine. If that happened to you, let me know and I'm sorry. The chair is going to arrive and that fabric is going to be facing the wrong direction. And that is going to have nothing to do with you and everything to do with there just being too many hands in the pot. And when that happens, my hope for you is that you are able to focus on what you have control over. I want you to grow in this so that you don't lose your mind and stress everybody else out around you. Because if you do not get clarity on what you have control over and what you don't, that's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to drive yourself nuts. You're going to drive everybody nuts around you. Everybody has a control freak in their life. There are ways, I mean, I'm human. I am human. There are a handful of things, maybe more than a handful if you're talking to my husband, that I have control issues about in my life. We're all human, and I really think a part of being human is just that. But when you think about the control freaks in your life, if you're one of them, this is going to be challenging. Think about the control freaks in your life. I mean, come on, if you're a control freak and you have another control freak in your life, you're likely butting heads pretty often. Unless you see it directly eye to eye, which is just rare. The people who are the biggest control freaks in life are actually the people who I believe are kind of carry the most stress and unhappiness. They are the people that always have a problem with something. Things are just never right. It just kind of feels like a battle every single time something doesn't go according to plan. And I don't want that. If I haven't stressed enough, I just don't want that for you. I want you to feel confident. I want you to feel composed. I want you to feel free. I want you to feel relaxed, as relaxed as you possibly can. And I want people, including your clients, to want to be around your energy because of the way that you carry yourself when those things happen. That's what I want for you. So I think of, as I was prepping for this live, the one thing that kept coming up is the serenity prayer that my auntie Anime, she died at about 99 years old or 100 years old. She had me memorize. She would recite it all the time, and when I was a little kid, she had me memorize it. She'd be disappointed that I had to Google it today. She'd be disappointed I had to Google it today, but I did write it down. But the serenity prayer is, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And there's something about that that really can grant us all a lot of peace and serenity. So as I share all of that, I want to get into a little bit of like the how-to. How do we release control? What do you have control over? What do you not have control over? And I'm going to give you a little sneak peek of what I'm going to talk about for the next maybe 10-15 minutes. And that is that you actually do have more control than you realize about some things. And there are plenty of things you just still won't have control over. So let's talk a little bit about that. First and foremost, what do you have control over? Yourself. There is a lot in that. Yourself. There is how you think. There is how you act, how you show up, how you feel. You have control over all of that. What don't you have control over? Other people and acts of God. That's it. If you take anything away, just recognize that. You have control over you. You do not have control over other people if they're grown adults. If you have little kids right now, I hope you're continuing to enjoy having control over them. It's not going to last forever. And acts of God, which just unfortunately happen. But sometimes it can happen in our favor. I'll get to that. So I want to say, we can look at those things and say, okay, so there's a lot I don't have control over. Yes. But I also don't want you, because sometimes I see people do this. I've seen designers do this. I see people do this. Go, well, I don't have control over it, so, and they just kind of wash their hands over things, wash their hands of something. And there are many things within that, within other people, that you do have influence over. So let's give an example. I want to give like the most basic example. You have no control over your prospective client hiring you. You have none. And I know that that's really frustrating, but it's the truth. You have no control over who's going to hire you and who's not going to hire you. And so instead of approaching everything almost in that way, well, I have no control over it, so then what can I do? Like a lot of people actually take a passive role in their life and businesses because I will, share something like that. Well, I don't have control over someone else hiring me, so like I'll just sit back and wait for people to come my way. No. What do you have control over? You, in this exact situation, you have control over showing up well for a discovery call or your client consult. You have control over showing up on time. You have control over carrying yourself well, being polished and being organized and being confident. All things you have control over. You have control over communicating effectively, being able to convey value. You have control over all of that. So you can do kind of like what I said earlier. You can do everything right. Everything can be perfect. And you still don't have control over whether or not somebody is going to hire you. But what I want you to do, both in this example and in the other parts of your business, is really be introspective about what you do have control over that can influence a result taking place that you desire. Is this making sense? I hope that this is making sense. I pause. Oh my gosh. Here's another example. I'm like just sifting through examples. Here's another example. You have no control over whether or not a client is going to shop you. You have no control over that. You cannot stop them from doing it. Now, what do you have control over in this situation? You have control over deciding on boundaries regarding clients shopping you. You have control over implementing an effective onboarding process where you communicate this boundary and maybe some others. I'm going to shameless plug my VIP day. You have control over when a client shops you, how you handle that conversation and whether or not you're going to let them do it. You have control over those things. You have control over whether or not you bring a client into your business. You extend an offer, a proposal, or extend an offer for them to work with you when they've given you red flags in the process. You have control over all of that. Now, there comes a point where you can do everything right and a client shops you. And you have control over how you respond to that situation, which comes from how you think about that situation. You cannot stop them from shopping you, but you can have a conversation with them that lays boundaries, that establishes some ground rules, that reestablishes trust. You have control over that, or you have control over letting them. Because at that stage, both of those things could be could be possible and available to you. You could have that conversation and say, fine, here are two of these, light fixtures that go ahead, you can buy and you can own it. I'm not buying them, so you're buying them, which means we're going to establish new boundaries around, like, I don't have control over these and I'm not going to be tracking them. So new boundaries there. My point is, though, is there's still a lot you have control over that all can influence a result that you want taking place. Yet, something can still take place that you cannot control. And if you spend your energy fighting against and bumping up against the things you cannot control, you are only going to frustrate yourself and create friction in a client relationship in this example. I want you to recognize that you do have more influence than you may realize and currently be exuding both. You have more influence than you might be currently exuding or executing on. There you go. Instead of getting frustrated, I want you to notice every single thing that's out of your control. And I want you to do two things. Number one, say, what could have been in my control here? And what processes do I need to change? That alone, your business will transform. Every single thing that goes wrong, if you stop and you ask yourself, what could I have done differently? And what part of my processes need to change that could have influenced a different result? And you actually do it, man, there is going to be no stopping you. I said there are two options. I was like, what's the other one? This is the part where I'm like, I should probably take better notes. The other one that comes to mind for me right now is something comes up and you're like, I had no control over that, and this is not what I wanted or expected. And you look at it and you say, how can I make this the best case scenario possible? And that's why when a lot of my clients come to me with their clients who shopped them, who did some sort of reverse image search and found light fixtures for cheaper, when my clients come to me and say, what do I do with this? I say, what do you want to do with it? We're at that point now where this has happened. So we can potentially lay down a little bit of ground rules, but also how can we establish trust with this client and say, and almost let them win, but in a way, how can you win in the long run by doing so? So what if we let them purchase those light fixtures? But we're going to educate them on all that takes place in them purchasing that and how much you are hands off then because it's on them. Or we could potentially say, we'd be happy to purchase them. And that way, every single thing that may come up with these, we will take care of. And you present those two options. I feel like I should jot that one down because I'm like, that would be a really good what to say to your design client. But it's true. You present those two options. Hey, Mr. or Mrs. Client, you're right. These are on for cheaper at Visual Comfort if you have somebody that you know through there. If that's the case, here's what this looks like. If you purchase these with a discount, here's all the stuff that is going to now be on your plate. Otherwise, I'm happy to purchase them. We would want to purchase them because we would want control over we'd want control over all of the rest of this process. And if that's the case, like, you have us. It's just going to be at a little bit of a higher rate. One last thing I will share in this is for what you have control over, you have control over your own mind. And that is extremely powerful and very underrated and a lot of times underutilized. Having control over your own mind creates a better result for you. You have control over how you want to think when all of these things come up. And you can choose to be upset and resentful and frustrated, or you can choose to recognize what you have control over, what you do not, and release all that you do not. With us selling our condo, I will tell you, I shared with you all the things that I believe we have control over. We've priced it right. It looks beautiful. What else do we have control over here? I feel like there are a couple other things that came to mind for me earlier. And at the same time, it's still not a great market. So what else do I have control over? Keeping my spirits high. I have control over keeping my spirits high. Jacob and I, neither of us are Catholic. And every single day, I pray to St. Joseph because I know whether it's St. Joseph, God, or my mom, someone's up there hearing these prayers. They're going to bring us the right buyer. Or the other thing we have control over, putting it on for rent and making that decision. It took us a bit to make that decision. And this really is my decision. I own this condo. This is the condo I bought when I was 30 years old. So it really is my decision. And it took me a bit to say, maybe we want to put it on. Maybe I want to put it on for rent too. I didn't have to go that route. I could have only held on to this is meant to be sold. But at this point, we've had it on the market for about a month and we want to move. We want to move. We want more space. I want my own office. I don't want to keep doing lives from my kitchen, taking coaching sessions from my kitchen. Although it's been fun. um, we want to move. And if that's the case, then what do I have control over? Putting it up for rent, dropping the buying price, putting up for both, and releasing out there that who is meant to be in this place next is going to be in this place next. And when I see it as that, I spend a lot less time freaking out. Thank you. Spend a lot less time freaking out and a lot more time keeping my vibes and energy high and being my best self in every area of my life possible. You do have control over how you think, the actions you take, and you have control over many, many things that can influence other people in how they maybe perceive you and whether or not they want to work with you. Or think about all the checklists you have where you could do every single thing right in procurement and your item will still arrive wrong. You cannot change those things. You can't. So when that stuff happens, you just have to relinquish control. But I don't want you to get that confused with, there's so much I don't have control over, so I'm going to take a back seat to my business. No. You have control over showing up well, showing up professionally, communicating effectively, deciding what your business boundaries are, deciding what your policies are, communicating those effectively, marketing your business effectively. You have control over all of those things. You do not have control over the results that occur once you do all of those things. But I want you to see the role that you play in your own business. And I want you to play that role so well. So that when things come up that are not in your control, you can play that role well too. Was this helpful? Please like this video if it was. Please share it with a friend. If you haven't shared my account with a friend, if you haven't shared one of my live videos with one of your design peers, I would greatly appreciate it if you did. If you want to take this to the next level, you know where to find me. I am currently taking clarity sessions. I take on a couple sessions, kind of single sessions on a weekly basis. If you want to work with me at a higher level, just send me a DM or head to the link in my bio and you can find my private coaching application. Thanks for hanging with me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. I'm going to be saying prayers to St. Joseph, and I'll see you next week. Take care, friends. Bye.